Hi, all, and welcome. We'll just give it a few minutes while the others trickle in. So just hang tight. And just so you know, until it's your turn, if you want to go off camera and work on other stuff in the meantime, feel free. You saw the agenda and the order, so feel free to do that in the meantime.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening.
Just so you know, I am texting the other board members as well. There should be 2 more joining. I have not heard back yet. And Dr. Negron, check your messages. Sorry. Chief Avila is also running a little bit behind.
Christina, I know that she is trying to get to this on time, but if needed, I am more than happy to do the overview.
Okay, perfect. I sent you the
Let me
link
know.
in case you need. Oh, and Ms. Brody said she's joining as well shortly. Okay. So I sent you the link in case you need to follow. If not, I'm going to be screen sharing. So board chair, Ledger, do you want us to begin or as soon as Ms. Brody joins?
It's 4:35, so I'd like to be respectful of everyone's time, so we can get started now.
Start by switching the agenda.
Thank you so much. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Hartford Board of Education Teaching and Learning Committee meeting, November 30th, 2022. And my name is Francoise Darastel Ledger, and I am the chair of the committee. And I would like to have folks just kind of introduce themselves and where they're from. So we'll popcorn this. So I will pass it on to Ms. Negron.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Madeline Negron, the proud chief of academics. And I am going to tag Principal Giuliano.
Good evening, everyone. I am the proud principal of Sport and Medical Sciences Academy, and I'm going to tag my assistant principal who is behind me.
Hi, I'm assistant principal of the high school area of Sport Medical Sciences Academy. I'm Joe Bonello. Nice to meet you all. Ms. Palmieri.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Palmieri. I'm the Assistant Director of Educational Initiatives and Innovation here for Hartford Public Schools, and I'm trying to find someone to tag. I will tag Katie.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Katie Leonard. I'm the Executive Director of Literacy and English Language Arts for Hartford Public Schools, and I am going to tag Principal Fitzgerald.
Good evening, everybody. Hello, I'm the proud principal of Great Path Academy at Manchester Community College, and I am Jessica Fitzgerald, and I will tag Dr. Silver.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Fitzgerald. My video doesn't seem to be working, but I am here. I am the Chief Performance Officer and glad to be here tonight, and I will tag Jamie Daniel.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us as a guest at this meeting. I'm Jamie Daniel. I'm the producer and creative director at the Connecticut Forum. And I will tag my colleague, Ruth Cullen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you also for inviting us to be at this meeting. I am Ruth Cullen. I'm the executive director of the Connecticut Forum, and we are thrilled to be here tonight. And I will tag, oh goodness, Jessica Fitzgerald, did you go yet?
I did go, yes.
Sorry,
That's okay.
I can't see everybody just yet.
Why don't we tag Ms. McCassel?
That's a great idea. I will tag Ms. McCassel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle McCassel. I'm the Director of Partnerships at Unbound Ed. And I am excited to be here with you all. I get the honor and privilege of meeting new people to join in our work, and I'm excited to share more about that with you today. I will now popcorn to Miss Doreen Crawford.
Dr. Crawford, you're muted.
Yes, sorry. Doreen Crawford, I'm the principal at Dr. Martin Luther King Junior Social Justice Middle School. And, you know, we are excited to be in partnership with Unbound Ed. And I will tag Miss Brody.
Good evening, everyone. Shantae Brody, Hartford School Board member. And I think I may have been the last one. If not, I apologize. I don't know who to tag.
Why don't we tag Ms. Bello?
Ms. Bello, can you hear us? You're muted if you're not aware. Okay, maybe not.
Sorry about that. I was trying
There's-
to,
Oh,
I'm on my phone, so it's a little small and I'm not used to it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Yvette Bello. And I'm happy to be here. I'm with the Board of Ed.
And I think we have Ms. Eiffel.
Good evening, everyone. Sharice Eiffel, Special Projects Manager supporting the Office of the Superintendent and Office of Family and Community Partnerships.
And why don't we go over to Chief Avila, if you're able to introduce yourself, that would be great.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yvette Avila, Chief of Schools.
And that leaves us Hannah Kieser.
Hi, all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm so sorry. My audio has been weird. How are we introducing ourselves, Dr. Negron? I apologize.
Just share your role, Hannah.
I am Hannah. I am the Special Projects Manager working with the Office of Academics.
And last but not least, I think we have Principal Webley.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm here.
And the last, there's one, I think I got everybody. There's just one more person connecting, which is Assistant Principal Hall. Oh, you're muted, Mr. Hall.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, and thank you for all of the introductions. And I'm glad to have everyone here. So now we will get started, and our first item on the agenda is the CT Forum, SMSA.
Yes.
Principal Juliana, just give us 1 second.
Of course, thank you
Chief
for that.
Avila, are you ready to do the overview, or I'm happy to do it for you if you need me to?
I can start it, but I'm looking at it from my phone, so I might need some help.
Go for it.
Okay. So just wanted to ground the contracts today that are coming up are from our Scaling Equity Innovation Grant, and wanted to just go over and provide an overview of what that is. And so, you know, we decided as a district to really support equity and innovation and giving voice to school leaders, students, parents, and teachers to really support thinking around some things that they can do and strategies they can implement in their school that could really support accelerating learning, supporting the climate and culture, helping the social emotional aspect of students, and also making sure that there is equity and innovation in their schools. So after responding directly to principals' feedback, we provided agency for schools to really use the resource without adding significant more work to the principal's plate. We continue to prioritize spending in schools in ways that school leaders think can be best accelerating the impact on existing strategies as well, so that we're building on existing strategies that exist. And really thinking about piloting things at times, just so that we can learn what works best and how to have improvements in schools, and really thinking about new ways to address urgent staff and student needs. And then the last I'll touch on is really to provide a way to target additional resources and supports to the highest need schools so that improvements of can be done based on equity of resources. Christina, can you go to, I believe this is the, thank you. And so just to really look at the progress over the timeline around it. So central office released strategic guidance around the application for the grant. And then central office and principals really worked hard, not only to develop the grants and write the grants, but really through collaborative planning sessions with principals and engaging stakeholders, really to develop those plans. By August 15, some of our principals had already submitted the grants, and then principals continued to remain planning and revising plans as we went along. And then we worked together to provide feedback and questions during that revision process, and so that we can get to approval. And then once the plans were approved, then a budget is created for them and funds were released. And that way we can keep track of the funding and what it's spent on. And then central office and principals will monitor the progress and the spending and the implementation of those grants as we go along. Next slide.
Sorry, I think that is the last.
I think that's it, right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that is.
So,
I'm trying to think.
Yeah. So, Christina, I think maybe if there's any questions around just that piece before the principals present, I think it's a good time for me to take any questions.
Sure.
Okay, I'm checking to see if we have any hands up. Okay, I don't see any hands up, but I have a question. How are you able to determine, or what are the highest need schools right now in needs of this particular grant?
So high needs, we use the model from the state. So the state tiers schools and a tier from tier 1 to tier 5. And so that was one of the aspects that we used, was the tiering that the state offers based on a 12 component matrix that they use. Additionally, we look at data from the schools regarding not only academics, but referrals as well, and needs that happen in the particular schools. So for example, how many risk assessments may have been done in a particular school, if there were any bullying concerns. So there was a variety of things that we use to determine the high need schools.
Thank you. And I have one more question. So say you were dealing with middle school or middle school students who graduated and went on to high school, and some of those students were high risk students, if you will. Would this information follow the students to that next school, and would the grant be implemented, or, would there be some type of access in that high school to support those students?
So early warning indicators are measures that we use to make sure that students who are in need, and so that is around behavior, it's around attendance, it's around academics. Those metrics and that information does follow the student. However, this is the first year that we've had this opportunity for this grant. So I would say no, it didn't follow because we didn't have it last year. But I will say that the information does follow. So in essence, yes, that was one of the tools that we used. So regardless if the child had, struggled in middle school, that data was considered in identifying the school.
Thank you. I still don't see any more questions. I don't see anything in the chat. So you may continue, please.
So Ms. Giuliano, I'll turn it over to you then.
All right. Good evening again, everyone, and I am Principal Giuliano at Sport and Medical Sciences Academy, and accompanied by my assistant principal, Joe Bonello, who was the lead on this effort and initiative. So he'll be joining me in describing our partnership with the Connecticut Youth Forum. Next slide, please. So just to give a little introduction, for those of you who are not familiar with the Connecticut Youth Forum and the Youth Talks program, this is an organization that's been around for many years, and it has a wealth of resources and expertise working with youth across Connecticut, and the opportunity that we're presenting in front of you is for our students to have their voice and choice in topics that are relevant to their world and also to their school community. And it's a very powerful program for school-age students to be able to talk and listen and connect across our community. And we're looking across 612. The program is structured around high school students, but we're going to go into a discovery phase in the first year and how we can then embed our 6-8 students, because it's really important to us as a community. Also tonight, as you saw in the introductions, we do have Ruth Cullen here and Jamie Daniel, who we're very excited to work with. It is extremely important for our students when we talk about their opportunities to be welcomed and engaged and partners in their learning, not only just the X's and O's and the ABCs, but topics that are important to them, because that way our students are ready to learn. And when we tackle topics that are important to our students, peer relationships, social anxieties, LGBTQ plus initiatives, it is an opportunity for our students to be able to share, their feelings, emotions, questions about these topics. And it intrinsically, obviously, impacts that engagement our students have in their school community, as well as engaging our families. They are our important partners in our work. The next slide, please. So when we talk about the Hartford Public Schools and the district's strategic operating plan, there is a direct correlation to the work that the Connecticut Youth Forum and the Youth Talks program can and will support our students with. Clearly, the welcoming culture and a nurturing climate for our students. We want everybody to be safe and in a learning environment that's inclusive. We want to engage our families in these conversations and also embed them in our partnership with the Connecticut Youth Forum and the Youth Talks. So it's clearly linked to our strategic operating plan, and obviously everything intrinsically works back to high quality teaching and learning, because if our students are here and engaged in their community, they're engaged in their academics. Of course, we have the link to our students being in school every day and wanting to be here. So we talk about improving our chronic absenteeism, increasing our average daily attendance, the importance clearly for the access to the content and topics beyond academics for our students to grow in capacity as whole students. I am a huge proponent of students' choice and voice in their community and what is relevant to them. And again, of course, we can leverage the unique opportunities that the Connecticut Forum can provide with increased school engagement through this partnership. Next slide, please. So here's some relevant data that was just pulled and culled from our climate survey this fall. And 56% of our students report favorably on I feel connected to my school community. And we certainly need and are working to improve that percentage. Our chronic absenteeism at the start of the school year from the end of the school year was at 37.3%. And we are working and have already improved that rate, much work to do. And our average daily attendance at the end of the school year was 88.3%. Another really important target for us in improving is our family engagement. They are our partners with their children's education. And in the fall, 76% said that they feel connected to our school community, but clearly we want to improve upon that as well. I'm going to let Mr. Bonillo share with you as well on our next slide.
Hi again, I'm Joe Bonello, the assistant principal here at SMSA. So as Principal Giuliano said, looking at our chronic absenteeism numbers, looking at our family data, we really want to emphasize working on improving those statistics based on the goals of the district as well. Like, these are very targeted, specific goals that the district has identified as being a priority. Part of why we want to use the CT Forum and all of that is they have decades of expert experience working with youth. And if we can take that expertise and turn it into engagement, we can improve our absenteeism rates or reduce, chronic absenteeism or increase our ADA. And then, our logic is the more kids are engaged and the more that they're involved and the more we provide them with something unique and they'll be excited for, that's not just academic. They'll feel more connected, they'll feel more supported in school, they'll feel more safe in school because they'll want to be here, they'll want to come here. And just the programs that the Forum has done over the years, if you've ever gone to just a CT Forum event, they're fantastic. If you've looked into their youth programs, they're just dynamic in how they approach it and unique in how they approach it in ways that schools don't typically get access to. So for us, we're looking at it, man, if we can bring this unique opportunity to our kids, they'll naturally increase their engagement, naturally be in school more, naturally feel more safe and connected, and therefore families will want to join in and be connected as well. So that's kind of how it ties to the major goals of the district and part of why we want to use the Forum and their programs to do this. If you can go to the next slide, please. Looking at the whole student kind of circle that's been on every one of these slides, I think this program really ties into the whole student. Our teachers are working on academics, our teachers are working on social in the classroom and in our building. This just provides this really high leverage, high capacity program to focus on the whole student, beyond just teaching and learning in the classroom. Although we do envision, the Forum being part of the school building on days and using our building for their events and programs. So, you can see the different highlighted components that we think this proposal really kind of increases or improves on the most. The one that I think is really dynamic is the one about improving support for students, supporting them in their own choices, in their voice, supporting them in becoming whole students to fulfill kind of our portrait of a graduate. The culturally responsiveness of the curriculum and the work that the Forum does, I think is just really a very powerful part of this program. And certainly as far as engaging community partnerships, there are very few, I think, partners in the Hartford area that are capable of doing this type of work in the way that they do it and the method that they do it. I don't really know of many other programs that are like the CT Forum that put on events like that also focus on youth and the dynamic kind of experiences that youth can get. So partnering with them is super exciting for me as someone who has gone to forums, but also just has for years learned and known about their youth programs. I think it's just a really win-win partnership for both groups. Next slide, please. So just kind of looking at what we're trying to get the forum involved with is small and large group discussions with our students. These are things that they do, by the way, have been doing for years, just in youth programs. And if anyone has any questions, and we're thankful to have Ruth Cullen and Jamie Daniel here that can also answer more specific questions about what they've done in the past, but just what we're hoping to take advantage of. These small and large group discussions, they're experts in it. The people that they bring in, the network of people that they have developed over decades of programming and producing is just unique to the area as well. So they can bring in facilitators that they've already vetted. They can bring in experts and guest speakers that are already experienced in these types of things. They've kind of proven track records out, working in their youth programs. And so we're really just trying to tailor what they would typically be doing in their youth programs just to SMSA and what we need. And so, we would basically do a needs assessment alongside of the forum and see what we want to, take advantage of from their abundance of programs. They have curriculum already written for their programs for the high school level. They have already said they'd be willing to look at working on, advancing that more for the middle school and incorporating it into the middle school. And so they're just looking to grow and improve on their own, but also certainly grow and improve the ability of our students. So the program is hopefully 2 years long with 2 to 3 events this year after an initial phase of assessing, 4 to 6 events next year, culminating event with a high leverage guest speaker. They just had Sonia Sotomayor at the forum a week ago. Right? So we're talking very robust programming for our kids. Also, they've already talked to us about trying to incorporate local guest speakers or local high profile individuals to come to our school and try to have these larger events to really motivate the kids to want to be in the building, come to the building, and make our school, a place that they're looking forward to going to through these unique opportunities. The funding for this is through the grant, as we know from before, and you can see the goals we've kind of already discussed earlier. So next slide, please. Looking at some of our more specific outcomes, what we want to try to do, we want to see those numbers of students and families feeling connected to our school increase. These are just hard numbers that we're hoping to achieve, but if it's higher, that'd be great. Parents report favorably feeling connected to the school. That I think goes in line with their students feeling that way. And certainly, getting kids in the building to learn every day. If they have this draw to come in, if they're excited about the programming, if they're becoming more comfortable and safe, then they will naturally be in school more, and those absenteeism numbers will improve. So we'll monitor those through common metrics that we're already using, climate and culture surveys, spring, fall, the normal district metrics that we would typically be looking at for our own growth and development as a school. I'm sure they would have also additional metrics they would want just for their own programming to see how they can improve as well. And just knowing the programs. I don't have anything additional.
I don't either. So at this time, we're happy to take questions. We are extremely excited about this opportunity to work with the Connecticut Youth Forum, especially this discovery phase that we've talked about and discussed as a team, because it will allow our stakeholders that voice and choice in the topics that we tackle and how we approach this process. And obviously, the agency it gives our students and the increased opportunity for inclusion for all groups and stakeholders in our building and the timely topics that are here for our stakeholders to help support SMSA school improvement.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions at this time? I'd like to just take a look. I don't see any hands raised. Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. Lots of great information. Very excited.
Thank you. Thank you. We are very excited as well. And thank you so much for the opportunity to present to the Teaching and Learning Committee.
And Ruth and Jamie, thank you both so much for coming tonight. We look forward to hopefully working with you guys soon. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. And now let's see. Christina, can we please have the agenda up again?
Agenda, we have Ready CT. Oh, Great Path is next.
Okay, thank you so much. And now see Ready CT.
Tell me when to click.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Fitzgerald, principal of Great Path, and I am here with Shannon Marimon, who is the executive director of Ready CT. I know she wasn't here for the introduction, so I'll give Shannon a chance to pop on.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
So we are very excited about this potential partnership between Ready CT and Great Path Academy. And Shannon, Ms. Marimon is going to give us a little bit of an overview of the current work that Ready CT has already been doing in the Hartford Public School District. And then I'm going to talk about, the need at Great Path and why this connection for us is a really great fit. So just to provide a little bit of background, Great Path Academy is a 912 high school. We're on the Manchester Community College campus, and we have been there for over 10 years. And we have a unique early college program model with Manchester Community College, where over 70 students right now are taking classes at the college level dually enrolled. So they're completing their high school credits, and they are also getting additional college credits, and students can take up to 2 classes free of charge for both tuitions and books each semester starting their sophomore year, as long as they meet the required GPA requirements and teacher recommendation. And then we work on supporting our students throughout their college academic success that they want to achieve at Manchester Community College. And I'm really proud to say that last year, which is my first year as principal there, we had a 98% graduation rate with, again, well over close to 100 students taking classes, at Manchester Community College. This semester, we have 70 students taking classes, and some of them are taking more than one course. They are certainly finding some great success. There's areas that we always want to improve and work on. And one of those fits really comes with the need for this partnership with Ready CT. So when the SEED grant was presented to us, we banded together as a staff, and we talked about what are our highest needs in the school, and that we would like to achieve. And the big point that everybody had made, the staff, then the students, then my school governance council talking with the parents, is that parents and staff and students wanted to feel that they were prepared and ready, right, for everything that was going to come past high school. And while I think at Great Path, we are doing a very good job providing the students an opportunity to take these college classes, I think that we can do a better job giving them work-based learning experiences such as internships, resume building, mock interviews, and so much more. And that is really where the partnership for Ready CT came out of. And we wanted to capitalize on the SEEG and come up with something that was going to really elevate our student population to the next level. And so with that introduction, I would like Shannon, and I know Christina, you're on the slides, to present her work, because Shannon and her group of managers have already been in the district, and I'm sure you are already familiar with the work that they have been doing at the other schools. So Shannon, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Well, thank you all for this opportunity. I'm very excited to be in front of the Teaching and Learning Committee. Again, we were presented back in the spring about our ongoing work in some of the other schools throughout the district, and it was really exciting to get an email from Jessica, because we just have had such a great experience working in 4 of the high schools in Hartford. We're in Buckley, Weaver, Hartford Public High School, and Pathways Academy for Technology and Design. And the opportunity to expand the learning that we've had to Great Path is just really just a great opportunity all around. I think we've refined our experience, our model, and the way that we engage with students and with business partners based on all of the experiences we've had in the other Pathways work throughout Hartford. And so it's a great time to bring to scale to another school in the district. So I'm not sure, are we following the slide deck, or am I just kind of talking more generally about?
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Is it easier if you share so you know when to click? Because I could stop sharing, or you just tell me when to click.
You can just advance it.
Okay.
So I think the first few slides are aligned with what Jessica already shared, related to how this fits in with the overarching strategic priorities of the district. And we know that we're really focused on sort of this idea of college and career readiness. And one thing that we say often is that when we're working on what we call CCR for shorthand, college and career readiness, oftentimes the career piece of that gets lip service and doesn't get a lot of support as embedded within the school day. It's kind of treated as kind of a separate thing or priority. And so we're trying to really embed the career readiness model into the school experience so that all students are having access to those opportunities. And so that will in turn help students with their post-secondary kind of as they're planning and setting their aspirations, and then ultimately transitioning into what comes next when they graduate from the K-12 system. So next slide. So we have been very much connected with Hartford Public Schools for quite a while. Our first career pathway program we supported, it goes back to 2008, working in Hartford Public High School on the engineering and green technology pathway, which is a partnership with what was United Technologies and is now Raytheon. And that program has just kind of continued to persist through all different kinds of transitions and experiences, but has been a real sound presence in the school as an opportunity for students to engage in project-based learning and connections to the business community in the form of a continuum of work-based learning opportunities, including at paid internships. And so when the high school redesign process was started in partnership with Hartford Public Schools with the Barr Foundation, I think that was going back to 2017-18 timeframe. Ready CT was one of the partner organizations that was part of those discussions, which resulted in the priority around the freshman academy model, the career pathways, kind of these personalized career themed pathways within the comprehensive high schools, as well as some of the magnet schools, that could then provide opportunities for industry recognized credentials and those career improved kind of post-secondary career outcomes that we're looking for students. And then the third was the personalized pathways. So we've been in a kind of lockstep with all of these conversations, and then customized and configured our programming so that it's aligned with the priorities of the district. Next slide. So the current work I've already mentioned is that we are working with the 4 high schools currently in the district the next slide we're going to be going to is going to actually name those different pathways. So right now we're in 7 career theme pathways throughout Hartford Public Schools, and all at slightly different stages based on when they came online. The most established ones being the one that I mentioned, engineering and green technology, as well as insurance and finance at Weaver High School and the IT pathway at Pathways Academy. All 3 of those have achieved model and distinguished status through NAF, which is the framework that Hartford Public Schools has adopted as a framework for the design and delivery of a career pathway. So Ready CT basically adopts that framework and implements it on the ground at the school. And the other pathways that have come online since the school redesign process are the allied health pathway at Hartford High, the 2 pathways at Buckley, public service and computer science, kind of a reimagining of the journalism and media pathway at Weaver High School. And then now we would be adding the Great Path opportunity. So it's building off an existing model, but customized to the pathway theme and to the school community, knowing that each school presents different opportunities relative to the connections in the immediate community, as well as leveraging some of the partnerships that might already exist in the school through other community-based organizations. So we're always making sure we're making those connections so that we're aligned with community partners in work that they are also doing in the school. Next slide. This is just a summary of who we are. So we Ready CT as an organization, we are a statewide nonprofit that has been kind of around we're just going into our 12th year of existence, which is exciting. And we are an affiliate of the Connecticut Business and Industry Association, which is our state, essentially, chamber of commerce, which consists of approximately 6,000 business members. We are co-located with CBIA in downtown Hartford, right across from the Excel Center. And we work with the business community. We are separate organizations insofar as CBIA is focused on serving their business members. Ready CT's constituency that we support are the students that we work with and the educators. And so we're able to leverage, however, the connection with CBIA in order to provide access and opportunity to the world of work through the business members of CBIA. And so that's made the career pathway work that much more enriching and vast in the experiences that we're able to offer to students. Next slide. This is a summary slide of the current state of when we last did a formal gauge of enrollment, what we're defining as kind of intent to be in one of the existing career pathways. So in the spring, there was a formal signing week for freshmen to select. So freshmen go through Freshman Academy, have a range of experiences and exploration opportunities. And then by the end of their freshman year, they're selecting one of the pathways that is available at the school. In the case of Hartford Public High School, they can also select what we're hoping to call a liberal arts pathway or a general pathway, studies pathway. And so as of last spring, these were the signups for the individual pathways. Those have increased since this was done. We're just getting some new data entry as we've started out the new academic year. But based off this, these are the students we started with as kind of quote unquote enrolled in each of these pathways. And then we had the upper class students, the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders who were already officially enrolled in those pathways. Noting also that Pathways Academy is a wall-to-wall pathway experience. So all students are considered technically enrolled in the pathway. So in total, we're working with the 1,396 students across Hartford Public Schools with the expectation that that number has increased since we did this check-in, and we're hoping to provide an update on that total once we get all the final intent forms. Where actually all of our team members are working within their pathways to collect intent forms from students to either enroll them in the pathway or reaffirm their interest in staying with that particular pathway. So significantly, a significant reach in terms of the number of students that we're working with across the district. Next slide. These are also some screenshots of data points that we've been collecting. We're improving our own data collection efforts in partnership with the school district performance office to make sure that we're giving data back. It's reciprocal. We're able to understand sort of the current disaggregated data of which students are participating in our programs and which students maybe we're not reaching as much, and how do we change our strategy in order to reach all students equitably. And so this is an example of student work-based learning participation by school and grade, a snapshot in time that just shows kind of the number of students by school, and then we can see where we have work to do in terms of the school or the grade level. And this can be further disaggregated by actual pathway and then even by other demographic data. So again, we can be really strategic about where we continue to provide support for students. And then just some photos of our students in action. We've been having a lot of success with the Allied Health Pathway at Hartford Public High School, and students there are receiving their first aid CPR credential. We have a partnership with an engineering company where students get to go out into a field and build rockets and then launch them. And then the bottom photo is actually a picture of the CBIA annual meeting. This was last year's photo. We actually just had this year's event a couple weeks ago, with the keynote speaker was the CEO of Girls Who Code, and we had 17 students in total from across Hartford Public Schools participate, and it was just as well as some educators, and it was just a really exciting event all around for students and educators from Hartford to take part in, and very appropriate content because of who the keynote speaker happened to be, focused on computer science education. So next slide. Oh, time check. So these are additional numbers related to the work-based learning experiences we offer. It's a continuum of experiences, so we don't just throw students into an internship. We scaffold so that they're starting with exposure and awareness through job shadow opportunities, guest speakers, and then build towards actual project-based experiences like contests, competitions that they can enroll in, and then ultimately we prepare students for a paid internship experience of 120 hours. And we had 268 students from across Hartford Public Schools participate in the internship this past summer. Next slide. More photos, just of students doing different activities through the career pathway work, which tends to be a very engaging, exciting time for, I think we see a lot of students engage who may otherwise, be somewhat more disengaged. They look forward to coming to the events that are supported, as well as the career readiness workshop series that we facilitate. Next slide. So Jessica, do you want to review this slide, or you want me to?
No, absolutely. So, with this contract, what we're looking to do is to have a dedicated work-based learning coordinator from Ready CT that will help support the design and delivery of a work readiness curriculum, including things such as, internship recruitment, preparation, placement, and monitoring for up to our at least 80 Great Path students, with a focus on our students in grade 11. And, I will say, as my anecdote, I come back from the summer, I asked the kids, what did you do? Did you get a job? Did you get a job? No, miss, I didn't get a job. I was looking for one, I didn't find it, and it really just, again, speaks to, my passion for making sure that we're preparing our students for employment over the summer that could lead to potential career opportunities for them. And so that's why, again, I believe that this work is very important, especially in our high school level. And again, the work-based learning coordinator would help us orchestrate the things that you see listed here. Internship participation, along with career readiness workshops, starting as early as 9th grade, with college planning, career planning, career fairs, getting kind of career interests going, mock interviews, working on skill building, and much more than that. Next slide, please. And these are the ways that we will work on monitoring for the program effectiveness. So Ready CT certainly has their own specific indicators that they're looking at. And as well for us, we're certainly looking at our students, the percentage that are on track for graduation, the percent of students that are engaged in an internship experience or a job shadow experience, percent engaged in a dual enrollment class. I started and said 70 of our current students out of 300 at Gray Path are enrolled in a dual college class with MCC. We certainly want that number to be greater, and we want that number to be greater on the Hartford student end. There is a gap between the students who take those classes between those who are from suburban towns or non-Hartford towns, and then the Hartford students. So we want to make sure that we're providing equitable opportunities, for our students who are in all of these areas. And the primary focus, really here is on our Hartford residents. And other data points for effectiveness include, these types of things, making sure that students are feeling engaged in their pathways, student survey on perception of their readiness and careers, teacher survey, employment survey, and these are the things that we'll use to monitor the program effectiveness. Next slide, please. And here we are listing out our next steps and how we're looking to hopefully move in the direction where, of course, we're excited to present to you tonight about this exciting work that we'd like to begin, and move up towards the regular Board of Ed meeting, later on this month. And if the contract is approved, these are the steps that we will be taking from there, with the hopeful approval of the contract. Any questions?
You're on mute.
Board
Chair, you're on mute.
I see that board. Thank you very much for the presentation. That was a great deal of information, very exciting information. I do see that Board Member Brody has her hand up. Board Member Brody, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. So I didn't get the number one, the contract amount and the funds that it's coming from. Like, how is it going to be funded?
Yes, the contract amount is from projected January 2023 to June 2023 is $73,973. And this is a school equity innovation grant. Special fund is the funding source.
Okay, so other than that question, because we're saying the focus is enrolling the Hartford students, is it an issue with naming that out in those goals, or the last slide that we saw, like specifically saying it instead of not in regards to Hartford students?
I'm not quite sure in terms of what you mean by naming it out. I am trying to get the point across, though, that I do want to make sure that we are, through these types of initiatives, providing equitable experiences for all our students. And sometimes, we can see that sometimes there are some gaps that exist. So I am just trying to create the focus on that. I do want to make sure that all of the students are, of course, going to be able to participate in a program like this, but I do want to make sure that we're elevating a specific engagement experience for my Hartford resident students.
Okay, I thought you were specific in that statement, and that's why I was wondering why it wasn't specifically stated in the presentation as something that because what we're going to do, right? We're going to, as a board, we're going to ask for were the goals met, right? So, sure. And so I'm saying, so if we're not calling that out specific, because I thought that was specifically said, but if that is not true, then take back my question.
No, I mean, it is true. I mean, so I mean, I do want to make sure that like that's being specifically stated. So I'm happy to write that up in that way, right? As a goal in that sense. It's not necessarily written in that sense on that slide, right? But I do think as a monitoring piece, I'm certainly going to be tracking how many of our Hartford residents versus non-residents are engaged in this, and how many of our Hartford residents versus our non-residents are attaining internship experiences or career readiness experiences. And that's data I'm happy to track. And I plan on tracking and presenting at future board meetings or future venues. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Board Member Brody, for that question. I don't see any other hands up. Oh, I do see Board Member Bello. You have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. Just a question, I think, that might be in the minds of others watching. Can you tell me sort of how this program and its goals complement other initiatives, workforce initiatives in our schools, like the CWP's summer youth employment programs, et cetera?
Sure. Maybe Shannon, do you want to address that at all?
Sure, yeah. So we work in really close partnership with CWP and other community-based organizations that may also offer work-based learning opportunities. Junior Achievement's another great example where we see what they're offering as huge complements to what we're doing. We are an embedded model. So we have team members who are actually based at the school and able to work within the school day to offer the career readiness workshops and the student outreach and engagement efforts to get them ready for their different work-based learning experiences, including the internship. We will leverage often the summer youth employment program to identify the placement, and then the CWP partners like Blue Hills and CLP will provide the funding to cover the cost of the to compensate the student for the internship experience. So together we actually join forces and get to a great result for the student, so that it's a substantive internship that they've had almost a series of months to prepare for, as opposed to oftentimes the summer youth employment opportunities, they aren't able to start announcing those or preparing for those until late spring. And so the preparation time is really abbreviated. So we can close that gap and then make sure that students are adequately prepared so that they have a positive experience and the employers have a positive experience and come back again the next year. So very much working with those partners and working with others to bring in other enrichment opportunities for students.
Great, thank you so much. I just didn't want that to be any sort of confusion or any competing sort of interests, or like, does my child go here? Does it go, just that it's really a system that's being supported here. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. Great question.
Thank you so much. And I see Board Chair Rigger has his hand up. You have the floor.
Yep. Thank you, Ms. Ledger. And thank you again for the presentation. I guess I have a more general question. I think one of my colleagues was alluding to this around kind of the goals and the metrics and like what does success look like. In hearing the presentation, what I gathered is Ready CT has been around for 12 years and very much focused on career readiness and so forth. And I certainly appreciate the efforts that the organization has put forth in terms of helping our kids secure internships and things along those lines. And maybe this is a little bit out of scope for this particular meeting, but I'm very interested in terms of like the actual careers that students have gone through Ready CT. Like how does that look, right? So I think by and large, what I saw today was kind of, from the time that they enroll to, let's call it summer internship. But I'm curious in terms of the actual like career placement and how does that look for participants that have gone through the program? And I apologize, so I'm on my phone, so I wasn't able to see all the slides. You may have covered that, but at least I didn't hear it from in some of the discussions so far.
Sure. So I'm certainly happy to let Shannon speak to that, but I will say, when I was assistant principal at Pathways, and I appreciate your question, when we talked about the career Pathways was an IT school with computer design as a focus. So the goal was to find career pathway placements for students in the areas of IT, graphic design, media and software, right? That would align with the curriculum. And that's a similar goal to what we are going to achieve at Great Path. We have a little bit more of a broader scope at Great Path because our theme is really around college prep and college success, with a little bit of a liberal arts, but we have students that are interested in very specific career pathways like healthcare, allied health, manufacturing, IT, robotics. And the goal is to align the students' interests with a career placement that also aligns with the curriculum that they have been undergoing for several years in high school, because we want to make that curriculum really come alive for them and see how they can apply all of their learning and knowledge that they've gained in high school to a career. And that's where the relevant work-based learning experience comes from. And, that's my, certainly the experiences I've had with it. And I'm happy to have Shannon, if she has any specific details, of course, to share on that.
Yeah, I'll just say that, in the first years of this, I joined Ready CT in 2018, and even in those first years of working with a program that had already been well established, a lot of the focus was what was happening in school. Since then, because we're a statewide organization, we're partnered with the Governor's Workforce Council, which is trying at the state level to better understand what pathways, where they exist and which ones lead to the outcomes we want to see. And so we're working on a systems level to build out the statewide longitudinal data system, because it's really hard to follow. We can measure definitively what's happening while the students are still in school, and we're measuring things like their engagement levels, the completion of industry recognized credentials, dual enrollment, which are all proxies for things that are setting those students up for success. But that longitudinal data is the holy grail of what we're aiming for. And we're working with the statewide system called P20Win to tie in all of our programming so we can follow those outcomes. Up to this point, we do a lot of kind of individual follow-up with students to know where they land, but we want to do that in a much more consistent way so that we could report that back in 5 years, 10 years, exactly where graduates are landing. So more to come on that.
I appreciate that. I would I guess encourage the conversation to see how we could accelerate getting that longitudinal data. As I hear that, right, Ready CT has been in existence for 12 years. I guess I'm a little perplexed of why it's taken 12 years to get at least that data gathering framework in place. Now, clearly, right, maybe the first 3 or 4 years, you actually have to have people kind of go through college or trade school, whatever the case may be. But I would highly encourage and would very much be willing to help kind of facilitate or be a part of those discussions to get that longitudinal view of how our students are performing from inception to completion or post-completion of the program.
Definitely. And I should clarify, Ready CT has been managing that pathway since 2018. So pathway has been in existence since 2008 with CBIA, and then Ready CT took over in 2018. So it's been more recent. Okay. And then COVID happened. So yeah. not to make excuses, but we are definitely, that has been #1 priority since we started to develop, to step in with the pathway work and then build it throughout Hartford and other districts. And we're working very closely with the state to prioritize that, but having your support in emphasizing how important that is would be invaluable. So we will follow up to see, how we could work together on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much, Board Chair. I don't see, just check any more hands up. So thank you so much. And we are going to continue because I received a message about the time check, and we have another contract to go over.
Ms. Crawford or Ms. Webley? Which one is?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Thank you for inviting us here to put forth our proposal to have Unbound Ed support our teachers and staff by putting the spotlight on culturally relevant education and equitable instruction for our teachers to engage in over a 2 days period that this will be presented to not only MLK teachers and staff, but also Weaver High School teachers and staff. Weaver High School is the school where our students from MLK move into at the end of middle school. So it's very important that this continuation takes place. These are our neighborhood schools where our students are predominantly African-American, Black students, and brown students. And the goal is to make sure that our teachers are equipped with what they need in order to provide this kind of instruction to our student population. As administrators, we had the privilege of having Unbound Ed present to us during our summer institute. And as a result, thought it fitting to leverage this kind of learning, not only for us, but also for our teachers, so that they can actually experience high leverage, basically professional learning, so that they can bring it to our students in our classrooms, so that they can actually help to impact their learning and bring students to the level where we do need to have them as neighborhood students achieve. So it's a great opportunity when the SIG grant came along, because it gave us the opportunity with funding to provide this kind of learning for our teachers. Ms. Webley, you want to add to that? Or we want to move straight in and have Ms. McCassell from Unbound Ed. She's going to present actually the outline of this 2-day summit that will be taking place on January 4th and 5th.
Sure, I think you wrapped it up nicely. It really summed up our work and that we really want to do. But yeah, the district focus is on high quality teaching and learning. So we really want to be sure that we are infusing that in our classrooms every single day. So we have prioritized looking at instruction and deepening our teacher capacity and their toolkit around the grade level instruction that's being presented to students each day. So we know that our goals, we know that our students are not performing where we want them to be. So we were thinking, okay, so we were provided with the knowledge at our district PD, as Dr. Crawford just mentioned. So now how do we turn that information around to our teachers to equip them to be able to really provide our students with the instruction that they need to be able to perform and become proficient on grade level assessments. So I'll now turn it over to Ms. McCassell.
Thank you both. And thank you for the opportunity to share more about Unbound Ed. As a company or a nonprofit organization nationally, what we endeavor to do around the nation and around the globe is to help educators dismantle systemic racism in instruction by teaching GLEAM. GLEAM is an acronym for grade level, engaging, affirming, and meaningful instruction. And no matter what curriculum is being used. We are curriculum agnostic. What we are focused on is that sweet spot between what's in that box, your curriculum, and the student, and how a teacher artfully and skillfully connects the curriculum to every student, no matter who they are, no matter the color of their skin, their zip code, their background, their socioeconomic status, any of those things. We want to empower and equip your teachers to be able to teach GLEAM and make the curriculum accessible to every student sitting in front of them. That's the point of our work. We do this typically through a 5-day Standards Institute that happens nationally around the country 3 times a year. But what we've proposed to do in our partnership with Hartford is to bring a snippet of that to the local feeder pattern between MLK Middle and Weaver High School, so that the masses of teachers between these two schools can see and experience what is the importance of teaching grade level work. What is the importance of holding these standards high? We've all come through this pandemic, and we've been trying to kind of socially and emotionally support students and just, getting through that. But now, as we get back to the business of school, we want to get back to that grade level of standards-based instruction. We want to hold the high academic rigor, and we want to teach them how to scaffold and support to accomplish that and deliver their instruction in a way that reaches and teaches every single kid, as I said, no matter who they are. So what we're proposing to do is bring a 2 days of this sort of PD where we can talk about the value and importance of the standards, talk about what is equity, what does that look like in specific application to instruction and in your classrooms, and empower every single teacher who participates to understand the purpose, the power of holding those high academic standards, to develop their own equity lens, to have those sort of mindset shifts where they can see and understand what students are really capable of, and make the application, use the skills to really teach and support them in achieving at those high levels. And we're going to talk about bias. We're going to talk about discrimination. We're going to talk about how that shows up in instruction and have those courageous conversations around, what that looks like, what that feels like, and why it's so important. We give you some tools and some skills to be able to address those things so that we can get past that and you can truly give equitable access to grade level instruction. Next slide, please. I think that's for you, ladies.
So what we see here is basically where our students are. So if we're talking about our baseline, so at Weaver, for our SAT data, for instance, our students are performing, less than 10% of our students are actually proficient or meeting the benchmark right now. So we really have to dig into that. When we look in our Reading Plus data this year, many of our students are reading more than 3 years behind grade level. So how do we attack that? How do we approach that? So it's really, as Michelle just spoke about, it's really shifting our mindsets to be able to have teachers to understand that we have to keep the expectations high, have our standards high, while moving our students up. So being able to scaffold our students and help them to get to that grade level benchmark, because a lot of times our teachers will think, because our students are performing so low, because they're on a first or second grade reading level and they're in high school, that means I need to give them texts that are on a first or second grade reading level as well. And the skills that are being addressed are really low, but it's the opposite. We still need to bring them up and give them texts that are on grade level and give them the skills to be able to reach and accomplish those grade level standards. So that is why we're really pushing this, because we really need to change the mindsets of our teachers that our students can achieve if they're given the skills. And if we just look at what we're doing with them a little differently.
I agree, and all of what was said right there applies to Martin Luther King School students also. And what we're seeing in the classroom is the need to make sure that we are holding students to high academic standards and not actually just meeting them at very low levels. So the goal, and based on, actually, I'm still in the process of putting together all of my SLO, looking at the data and to actually dissect the data and how are we going to move forward, not only with the academics, but also getting students to want to be in school so that we can reduce our chronic absenteeism, because that also is a problem. If students are not in their seats in school, they are not going to learn. So we want to make sure that we are empowering them, we are motivating them to be in school so that they can learn. And actually, when they are in school, they are given that kind of grade level instruction that will push them to the next level. A lot of our students are failing out because they're not, I suppose they're not feeling challenged. So having this kind of forum for them to see and to understand the importance of making sure that our students are getting the kind of instructions that they need. And also looking at our students, where they are, who they are, and providing, especially our young men. I am mostly concerned about them, because most of them are failing out of school, and it's not because they don't have the potential to do well in school, but it's because I suppose they're thinking that something is missing. So what are we doing? How are we pushing them and making sure that their voice also is heard, and we understand how they learn, what they need to learn, what they need to succeed so that they can get to that level. So it's this kind of opportunity to actually unpack and to learn more about how our students in their cultural state of mind learn and how they achieve and accomplish their educational goal is going to be very impactful.
Thank you so much. I see Board Chair Rigger. Is that an old hand or?
No, it's a new one.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. Again, appreciate the discussion, appreciate you lifting some of the headwinds, right, that we're facing as a district as it relates to, one, clearly academic achievement, but also how do we culturally respond to that in a way that's actually digestible to our kids. So kudos to the team for bringing this forth. The question I have is around sustainability, right? So when I think about equity work and I think about the road that we have ahead of us, I just have a question mark around 2 days, right? Like, what happens after that? Like, what is what's the long-term play here, right, as it relates to making sure that there's ongoing training? Because as I'm sure, as most people know here, right, equity is not a one-time event. I understand clearly, right, you probably have certain parameters that you had to structure the proposal for, but I think assuming that there's going to be some wins from this program, we'll love to see how we can make this more sustainable and scale. I think Principal Crawford, you hit it right on the head, especially when talking about our young men. It is it's concerning, right? It's not just Hartford; it's across the country that young Black men are not achieving at a rate that's, I mean, it's abysmal. And I would say anything that lends itself to connecting with our youth in a different manner, I'm very much in favor of. But I definitely want to be mindful that that we're spending money wisely and that it's actually sustainable and not a kind of a one-time overnight type of solution.
Mr. Rigger, if I may, I just want to lift that, as Dr. Crawford and Principal Webley mentioned, right, this was the training that we provided to our administrators or all of our leaders. across the entire district this summer. And the opportunity to bring it now to these two individual schools. In terms of sustainability, I want to point out like the strong alignment, right, that this has, connecting back to the instructional vision for the entire district, right, that it is grounded again on those high expectations that we need to be setting for all of our students, right? Not just not the ones that we think can make it. We know all of them can make it. It's a matter about making sure that we're bringing the rigor that every child is entitled to so that we can get them there. And I think that is the beauty of Unbound Ed. So it again, it's all connected to all the other professional learning that we afford our teachers. And it doesn't mean that just because it's only 2 days being done by this amazing provider like it is Unbound Ed, because of, again, they're nationally renowned. But all of that work continues to be carried on through the practices and the learning, right, that we now have in the entire district, and all the other work that we carry out as it relates to those grade level standards. So I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we do have one more presentation.
Chairperson Ledger, actually there's one more.
Oh. Pardon me?
Ms. Brody, you raised your hand.
Oh, okay, I apologize. Board Member Brody? I apologize, you have the floor.
It took me a minute to find. I was trying for a minute, so it was last minute. Thank you for the presentation. Could someone speak to the approach, right, when we're having this conversation with teachers? Because I know it wasn't the intent in the presentation and the comments made, but it came across as teachers don't have this, they need it, they're teaching to low expectations. And I know that is not the intent, but that's how some part of it I took. So when we're engaging teachers around this, how is the approach in the actual training? Because of course we got to get the teachers to buy in if we're saying we think something is happening at the school and we want something different. So I'm wondering about the buy-in and the approach in this particular in these particular sessions.
So before Ms. McCassell jumps in with the approach, what I mean, Ms. Brody, with the comment is that we know, right, that every teacher, when they are teaching, right, has the intent to do their best by kids. But what I mean by the high expectations and going back to the rigor of the standard is that it's often like very challenging, particularly for newer teachers, right, that haven't been in the profession that long, to truly understand what it's like to read that standard and be able to unpack it and connect it back to what exactly are going to then be the ways that I'm going to get every single student to master that standard. And a lot of that comes through the art and the beauty around designing those, the learning tasks, even starting there, and how everything comes together eventually to get at the point, number one, how do I design what I am doing to really get at the essence of that standard that often you read it and it seems like, well, this sounds like common sense. It sounds like really basic, but that there's an art to truly unpack it, to actually get to those levels so that we're pushing students right to the high level of the rigor to eventually meet the mastery. And I'm going to now turn it to Ms. McCassell for the approach in which Unbound does that.
And you explained it beautifully. That's exactly why, our signature professional development experience is called the Standards Institute, because the whole conversation is focused on the standards and understanding the standards. Ever since the shifts, for example, we've noticed that not all teachers understand the standards very deeply. And we want to make sure that they do, because we want them to be able to do just like was described, to be able to unpack it, to be able to determine a student's prior knowledge, what they come to the table with when they're ready to learn and address that standard, what I'm asking them to do, what skills I'm asking them to perform, and then understanding what options I have to scaffold and support as necessary to help them perform at that level. So it's about the standards. It's about making sure that every student, who, no matter who they are, has access to learn at the appropriate grade level.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
From
welcome.
both you and Dr. Negron, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. One thing I wanted to say is cultural competence is critical. As an educator myself, it's so critical that cultural competency rather is embedded in whatever the curriculum is, whether you're a beginning teacher, whether you're a seasoned teacher, all of that. And not all, you would hope that, or we would hope that all teachers have the best interest of the students at heart, but there are some who may be burnt out or getting burnt out. And we just need a way to, we need to be mindful of how to engage those teachers or get them reignited, if you will, so that our students, our young people do not reap those effects of those feelings that, teachers who are pretty much at the end of their rope are exhibiting. So unfortunately, we are at the time where we're not going to be able to continue with the next contract. So Christina, are you there?
Yes. So what I just need to say, because we did pull, and thank you, Ms. Crawford and Ms. Webley and Ms. McCaffrey and Mr. Hall for joining. So as we move on, we had posted the agenda. However, that is being postponed January, but just to make sure that on the call and going to watch the YouTube stream, that we are pushing that contract January meeting, so that will be postponed. And of course, we are at time, so that last item of the learning walks, I believe, I'm pretty sure we're gonna postpone that as well. I don't think and as Ms. Bello had to jump off the call, so we lost one board member. So I'm not sure how the team would like to proceed.
So I propose that we do the next meeting.
I figured that will work out on their time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Chair Ledger, we're happy. It was going to be like a quick overview of where we are with the process. So we're more than happy to share that with you at the next Teaching and Learning.
Okay, thank you so much. I truly appreciate that.
Okay.
That is the agenda.
And everyone have a good evening and be safe. Meeting is adjourned. Good night, everyone.